The first thing people noticed was how quiet she was. Not shy, not withdrawn, just quiet, in the way someone is quiet when they're carrying too much inside and don't want it spilling out in public. Her name was Lena Morales, 27 years old, a dental assistant during the day, a waitress 3 nights a week. She lived alone in a small second-floor apartment with a balcony that overlooked a parking lot and a dying palm tree that never quite grew straight. She paid her rent on time. She smiled politely at neighbor. He called her mother every Sunday evening without fail. And then, one Tuesday morning, she didn't show up for work. At first, nobody panicked. Lena was responsible, but she was also human. Maybe she overslept. Maybe her phone died. By noon, her supervisor tried calling again, straight to voicemail. By 3 in the afternoon, her mother called from 2 states away. No answer. By the next morning, police were standing outside her apartment door. They knocked. No response. They knocked again. Still nothing. When the maintenance manager unlocked the door, the smell hit them before they stepped inside. Not overpowering, not dramatic, just wrong. Lena was on the bedroom floor. There were no signs of forced entry, no broken windows, no splintered door frame. Her purse was still on the kitchen counter. Her keys were hanging where she always kept them. Her phone was plugged in beside the bed. She had been stabbed once, just once. That single detail would haunt investigators for months. Because one stab meant control. It meant proximity. It meant someone was close enough, emotionally or physically, to end her life without chaos. And yet, no one could immediately explain who that person was. The first few days were a blur of standard procedure. Photographs, evidence bags, neighbors questioned in the hallway, friends contacted, family notified. Her mother collapsed when she heard the news. Her co-workers cried openly. But when detectives began digging into Lena's life, something became clear very quickly. She didn't have enemies, no restraining orders, no recent breakups that ended violently, no history of threats, no financial disputes, no drugs, no criminal record, no dramatic online arguments. She was ordinary in the most invisible way, and that made identifying her killer painfully difficult. The autopsy revealed that the stab wound had pierced her heart. Death would have been fast. The medical examiner estimated time of death between 9 p.m. and 11 p.m. on Sunday night. Sunday night. The night she always called her mother. Her mother confirmed it. They spoke at 8:42 p.m. The call lasted 12 minutes. Lena sounded normal. Tired, but normal. She talked about laundry, about a co-worker's birthday, about nothing important. She never mentioned being afraid. Her phone records showed no calls after that, no outgoing messages, no unanswered texts. It was as if her life simply stopped. Police canvassed the building. One neighbor recalled hearing footsteps around 10 p.m., but couldn't say whose. Another neighbor thought they heard a door close, but the building was old. Doors closed all the time. Security cameras covered the parking lot, but not the hallway. Footage showed Lena's car parked where it always was. No suspicious vehicles. No one running, no one carrying anything unusual. Inside the apartment, there were no fingerprints that didn't belong. No unknown DNA. No blood trail leading out. The knife was missing. Whoever killed Lena brought the weapon with them when they left. That suggested planning. But planning didn't match what investigators knew about her life. They looked at her relationships next. Her ex-boyfriend, Marco, was questioned first. They had dated for almost 3 years and broken up 8 months earlier. The breakup was described as mutual. No screaming matches, no stalking, no desperate messages afterward. Marco had an alibi. He was at a family dinner that night. Multiple people confirmed it. Then there was a co-worker who had once asked her out. She had declined politely. He had moved on. His phone placed him across town at the time of the murder. A regular customer at the restaurant made detectives uneasy. He tipped generously and lingered too long. But his DNA didn't match anything at the scene. His phone showed him at home that night, streaming a movie. One by one, every lead collapsed. Weeks passed. Lena's face appeared on local news. Her mother gave an interview, holding a framed photo of her daughter smiling in a yellow dress. She begged anyone with information to come forward. No one did. Online, people speculated wildly. Some blamed a secret lover. Others insisted it had to be someone she trusted. Comment sections filled with theories, none backed by evidence. Detectives were stuck until someone noticed something small, something almost embarrassing in its simplicity. A neighbor on the first floor mentioned a man who had been coming by the building for months. He wasn't loud. He wasn't suspicious. He didn't cause trouble. He just didn't live there. He usually came in the evenings, sometimes earlier, sometimes later. He never stayed overnight. He always left alone. No one had thought to mention him because he didn't stand out. His name was Daniel Cross. Daniel worked for a delivery company. He had delivered a package to Lena's apartment once. Just once. A year earlier. According to company records, he had returned to the building several times since then. Not for deliveries. For her. Lena had started seeing Daniel casually. Not serious enough to tell her family. Not dramatic enough to tell friends. It was something in between. Coffee. Occasional dinners. Quiet evenings inside. Phone records confirmed it. His number appeared sporadically. Not daily. Not obsessive. Just enough to matter. When detectives interviewed Daniel, he didn't panic. He didn't cry. He didn't get angry. He said they were friends. He said he cared about her. He said he hadn't seen her in weeks. But something about his answers didn't sit right. They were too controlled. Too smooth. Like he had practiced them in his head. Investigators checked his phone again. This time they looked deeper. They found deleted messages, fragments recovered from backups, short texts sent late at night. "Why didn't you answer? I know you're home. Don't ignore me." On Sunday night, at 9:58 p.m., Daniel's phone connected to a cell tower less than a mile from Lena's apartment. At 10:11 p.m., his phone went dark. It turned back on at 11:002 p.m. He said the battery died. Detectives searched his car. Under the spare tire, they found a knife. It had been cleaned. Too clean. But microscopic traces remained. Blood. Lena's blood. When confronted, Daniel finally broke. Not dramatically. Not explosively. He just sagged. He admitted he went to see her that night. He said they argued. He said she told him she didn't want to see him anymore. He said she laughed when he begged her to stay. He said he didn't mean to do it. Just one stab, one moment, one irreversible decision. At trial, the courtroom was silent as the evidence was laid out piece by piece. The text messages, the cell tower pings, the knife. Lena's mother sat in the front row every day. She never looked at Daniel. When the verdict came back guilty, there was no cheer, no relief, just a heavy stillness. Because identifying Lena and identifying her killer had not been easy, not because the evidence wasn't there, but because the truth hid in plain sight, in ordinary routines, in quiet relationships, in someone who didn't look dangerous. Lena was not killed by a stranger in the dark. She was killed by someone who knew her door would open. And that is what makes this case linger. Because it reminds us that the hardest crimes to solve are not always the loud ones. Sometimes they are the ones that end in silence.